Hello, my fellow Americans. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. Thought I'd give you a different view. I hope I'm not boring you with my talk about the congressman, but there's just some things that he said that are so critical to understanding what the real problem is in Washington, D.C. Once again, my Congressman DeFazio, he's razor sharp. He's no dummy. He's a smart man. He's eloquent in speech. But he said something in his opening remarks, which I decided to go ahead and post so you could hear what he had to say. I think he only talks about 8 or 10 minutes before he opens the floor up to questions. But at 8:32 in the video, he says, if you eliminated the entire federal government, there would still be a deficit. That's how big the problem is. If you eliminated the entire federal government, there would still be a deficit. Now, if my congressman knows this, don't you think all the other congressmen know this? And the Senate knows this? And the President knows this? You have to wonder, what the heck are they doing in Washington, D.C., in the Capitol and the White House? Something is so wrong. I don't know if it's diabolical, heinous. Could they really be that incompetent? Or do you think it's purposeful? Do you think maybe there's a conspiracy? I really don't believe in conspiracies, that they talk about, but I do think something's up. How could smart people do such dumb things? And how could we, the people, just sit back and let it happen? Once again, I've talked about it. Politicians, elected officials, seem to be the only people that do a bad job and come back and say, hey, I did a bad job. We all know I did a bad job, but elect me anyway, because I'm a nice guy. The appeal to the heart. Or you say, hey, elect me because that other guy, he's a bad guy. He's horrible. It's kind of like what Obama's doing with Romney. Romney's horrible, right? You enjoy that Obama Kool-Aid? Anyway, back to the subject. If you eliminated the entire federal government, in fact, I almost started clapping when he said that, there would still be a deficit. That's how big the problem is. But then he goes on to say that, because cutting just isn't enough. Got to raise revenues, which means taxes, which means me and you. Because they say they want to, tax the rich, but look, the rich are already paying more taxes than the rest of the country combined. So, how much more you want to take from them? If the problem's so big, it sounds like if you took everything, there'd still be a deficit. But they're still going to fund all their little pet projects and programs and, give their uncles and brothers and cousins jobs and their friends jobs. They're still going to send billions of dollars over the oceans to foreign countries. Many of these countries are our enemies. They would like to see us obliterated off the map. So why do they persist in these behaviors? Is it because the problem's so big? Well, if it's that big, who cares? I mean, it really doesn't make any sense. If you eliminated the entire federal government, there would still be a deficit. So the question is, are they going to dig the hole deeper this year? Are they going to dig it even deeper next year? I mean, there is such a thing as non-essential government employees. Why don't we just get rid of them? You know, when it snows real bad back on the East Coast, because I used to live in Washington, D.C., they would say that, you know, only the essential employees had to come to work. The non-essential government employees could stay home. And I always wondered about that. Why do we have them in the first place? Just a question. I guess maybe it's rhetorical, because I think the answer is kind of self-evident. I tell you, my fellow Americans, it's just a sad state of affairs. And I think that's why a lot of people are out there prepping. I mean, some of you guys that are watching this videos are fellow preppers or survivalists, because we see that the problem is big. We know it. We can feel it. And we're preparing for if something really big were to happen. Tomorrow would be like today. We're preparing even if something small happens, like, you know, somebody runs over a power pole or something, electricity gets knocked out for a few days. But we know, we can feel it. Like in the Matrix. You know there's something wrong with the world. It's like a splinter in your head, your mind, driving you mad. Well, you know, what's he going to do when he goes back there? You know, the Democrats are going to point the fingers at the Republicans. The Republicans are going to point the finger at the Democrats. Meanwhile, they're going to dig the hole deeper. Lunacy. You know, the crazy people have taken over the asylum. I only laugh because I don't want to cry. That's how bad it is. So, if we eliminate the entire federal government, you know, we really don't want to eliminate the entire federal government. I mean, I think it's a good idea that we have a military, except they're not deployed in the proper places. And when they are deployed, they're not deployed properly. I mean, if you think about it, the world could be a whole lot different. You know, after we bombed Japan and they submitted, if any other country tried that same crap, if we would have said, look, you saw what happened to Japan? We'll do the same thing, but I don't think we'd have a Middle East problem. Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, all those places, Pakistan. You know, say, hey, you don't cut it out, I'm going to push the button. Just try me. But I guess, you know, we've had all these treaties and agreements, but, you know, spare the bomb and spoil the country. It's like spare the rod, spoil the child. You know, I don't advocate going around obliterating countries, but, you know, sometimes, as they say in Cool Hand Luke, some people just can't be reached. And You know, if they had the bomb, they'd be using it on us. But I just think it's a waste. And it just adds to the deficit to put, you know, young men and women in harm's way for foolishness. I mean, if you're going to fight, fight to win, and fight to obliterate the enemy. Wipe them. You know, if somebody were to come up here, try and mess with me, I'm going to obliterate them. I'm going to wipe them off the face of the planet. Use them for crab bait. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's what they want to do to me. And there's not going to be any comebacks. No, it's going to be a fight to the death. 2 men enter, 1 man leave. You know, Thunderdome. But that's getting a little off subject here. If you eliminated the entire federal government, there would still be a deficit. That's how big the problem is. Wake up, America. Smell the tyranny.